First of all, I want to perhaps destroy, I hopefully not destroy too much, some of the hopes of some people here, those members of the Cupertino Women in Business. I spoke before them in December, and I want to let them know that this time I will keep my clothes on. But I find it very interesting that this is the State of the City address, which follows so closely upon the State of the Union address last night. I think there are a few parallels. After having put in the stop signs in town along Stelling, we were faced a bit with possible acts of terrorism, and so I did consult with the chamber as to what security measures would be taken. After all, the president does have the bulletproof glass and the like. And I was informed that Darlene would stand on one side and Joe on the other, and they would have a double layer of saran wrap between them. The other thing is that this is going on television. And of course, the president's State of the Union was beamed worldwide through Armed Forces Radio, Voice of America. We want you to know that this program is going direct to the crossing guard at Blaney and Rodriguez there. But really and sincerely, fellow council members who are here, other elected officials, and the members of the chamber and citizens of Cupertino, I wish to thank you for this opportunity to address you in what has been billed as the State of the City. In the brief time we will have together this afternoon, I wish to review some of the significant happenings of 1983 and then move forward to my outlook for 1984. Shortly after the first of the year, the City Council moved into the era of television by airing its meetings via United Cable. While this did not result in a wholesale switch in viewer tastes or the demise of Monday Night Football, it did signal a move on the part of the city to bring government and the governmental process closer to the community. This is a matter to which I am wholeheartedly dedicated and which will be enlarged and embellished in the coming year. I myself have begun monthly luncheon meetings with community leaders, and thus far the results have been most positive. Perhaps of greatest significance to the community was the completion of the revision of the general plan. The process had begun some 3 years previous, and after many hours of research, debate, and public hearings, our efforts finally reached fruition. From the general plan review emerged the decision by the council to impose a construction tax. Now, for the record, let me point out very clearly that this was not the imposition of a new tax. Rather, it replaced the old method of assessment of projects with a very clear-cut and, I feel, fair schedule of fees based upon square footage for commercial development and units for residential. Now, the developer knows well ahead of time what the cost will be for general road improvements, etc. I might add that this was done partly in response to developers' request to know their costs at a very early point in the planning and design stages of a project. This past year also saw us continuing projects such as the resurfacing of streets, reconstruction of curbs, gutters, sidewalks, and the like. While to some this may not appear to be much, just remember it the next time you ride on a smooth street or walk on an even sidewalk in our city. These are the taken for granted items. Items which cost us money the average citizen doesn't pay too much attention to, but they are important in the infrastructure of the city. Overall, the city weathered the downturn in the economy and is looking forward to better things in the future. And let's take a look at that future. And first of all, I want to make it very clear, I'm glad the press is here and the like, that Cupertino is not in the market for a sports arena. Just about 4 years ago, I stood before you as a candidate for City Council, and at that time I cited some issues and sounded a theme. I quoted the poet John Donne, who wrote, "No man is an island unto himself alone." And I substituted the word city for man. As I stand before you today, I sound that same theme, but instead of substituting that one word, I will keep the original and merely add the words city or business to it. No man, no city or business stands alone. If you look at the relationship between the city and its business community, I think you will find it, to use the words of the computer generation, user-friendly. As you well know, that does not mean we will always agree, but where we disagree, hopefully we will do it in a friendly manner. We see ourselves working in harmony with the other segments of the community to achieve the best possible quality of life. Many of the problems which faced us in 1980 still remain and to some degree have intensified. Let me share my thoughts on those and offer some suggestions. First of all, traffic. The problem of moving people in, around, and through our community still exists. This is a problem which should be of prime concern to all in this room. If people experience greater and greater difficulty in moving about in our community, they will not want to work here, and even more importantly to you, the business community, they will not want to shop or do business here. The more time they spend on the road trying to reach your business, the less time they have to spend their money in your establishment. The city has been working vigorously with a number of people to alleviate the situation, but the time has come to do more. We must begin an all-out assault to bring about the completion of Highway 85 and the widening of 280. The time has come for you, the members of the chamber, to also do your part. Having one of your members appear at a hearing or write a letter is not enough. Each of you should make a personal effort to contact your legislators in Sacramento to let them know your concerns. This is an election year. I don't think it's too unreasonable to ask the incumbents for an accounting of their efforts in this regard, and to push for a commitment from all candidates that they will work positively and vigorously for these projects. They will be coming to you for your vote and your financial support. Let them know the numbers you wish to talk about are 85 and 280. We must also dramatize to the entire area our concern about this issue. At Christmas, Valco had a community Christmas tree of canned goods. Why not let that same location be the focal point for the gathering of signatures on a petition that is 2 miles long, the length of the 85 corridor in Cupertino? Let each business in the community be a gathering place for these signatures. If this is a concern for you and you wish to do something, then get it going. I will give it all my help and will personally help you deliver it to Sacramento. For those of you who live in nearby cities, contact your own city council and get their support for this improvement. This is not just a Cupertino problem. This is a problem that affects the entire region. Our neighboring city of Saratoga must forego its parochial attitude. We must let them know we are tired of their obstruction. Finally, something must be done about the inner movements within the city as resident and worker wish to shop, dine, and the like. Therefore, I will be proposing to the City Council that a task force be established to study the feasibility of a shuttle service to be operated within the city. There are obstacles to be overcome, but I believe it can be done. We must start more thinking about the future. The phrase, "it cannot be done," should be eliminated from our vocabulary. Secondly, solid waste disposal. The past few weeks have seen the possible demise of a proposal to handle solid waste disposal in the local area. The problem still remains. We must find a reasonable, safe, cost-effective method to dispose of solid waste. Again, this is a matter which vitally affects you as a business person in Cupertino. In the very near future, the Council will be meeting with a citizens group to review their report on solid waste disposal. I ask you to become involved with this group. While we are negotiating for some disposal sites on a relatively short-term basis, we must look to the future needs of our city. Recycling is one of the areas to be addressed. Even at its best, however, recycling will not solve the problem, but it may help. Fundamentally, however, the people of this city are going to have to face the problem that it is our waste which must be disposed of in our region. We cannot simply say, let someone else take it. We heard quite a bit from the opponents, but very little from supporters or from proponents of alternatives. Next, housing. The need for decent, affordable housing continues to grow. Again, this is a matter which affects you as a member of the business community and should be of concern to the entire community. We are becoming an aging, smaller unit, childless society. The change in family structure has caused a need for smaller units. The increasing age of our population also demands smaller units. Our seniors want to remain here. They have their ties here, and some of those ties are with your businesses. Again, we must look at priorities. And at the present time, and this may frighten some people, but do we need more and more offices? Or do we need at the present time more housing for our children, our parents, or ourselves? We must maintain a balance with a good, healthy quality of life. While the profit motive is an integral part of the capitalist system, it can work against us if things get out of balance and we lose sight of people. Even that grand old man of economics, Adam Smith, would tell you that. In the past year, we established a citizens committee to look at the problem of housing in our area. The Chamber has a representative on this committee, and from all reports I have, he's doing very, very well. We appreciate that. But inform yourself of their activities, and if you have ideas, share them. Remember, if the costs continue to rise, rental and the cost of new housing, you either lose your customers or their purchasing power. It's simple economics. Schools. 21 years ago, when I moved to this community, its schools had a nationwide reputation as among the best in the United States. Today, those same systems stand in imminent danger. The schools from kindergarten to college are in trouble, and something must be done to save them. Stable and adequate funding of the public schools is a must if they are to survive. We as city government, and you as citizens and members of the business community, must go all out in support. The schools are our future. If they do not have the wherewithal to do the job, you will pay the price with the dropout who spends his or her time shoplifting, or the poorly trained employee who makes mistakes in computation and the like, thus costing you money. I cannot stress this point enough. And I say this not because of my background in education, but because it is a very basic fact we must acknowledge. An educated society is a thriving society, a society which moves forward. The opposite is stultification, decay, and ultimately death. You really have no choice. You must support our schools. And this is the message that must be delivered to Sacramento. California is 50th in the percentage of personal income spent on education, even though it has the third highest per capita income. And then we have our, what I call our social community services. And certainly the apparent upturn in the economy bodes well for the immediate future. Preliminary figures indicate the city will do much better than anticipated in revenues. However, the needs which face us in the immediate and distant future are considerable. To maintain our quality of life, we must preserve some of the open space which now exists at our school sites. We have entered negotiations with the Cupertino School District for the purchase of land at the Jollyman and Hoover sites. And hopefully we will reach an accord which will benefit the city and the school district while respecting the best interests of our citizens. Cupertino definitely needs a community center. Establishment of such a center would coordinate existing services, enable us to provide additional ones. The move toward single-parent families has created a desperate need for child care facilities and counseling services, and this is not being provided by the county as it has in the past. A community center would provide a central location for such activities. We will need funds for the establishment and maintenance of such a center. Monies have been put aside also to aid the relief of traffic congestion. As I have mentioned previously, we must move forward on this issue, and with your assistance, I know we can. An improvement in this area, I think you would all agree, would definitely enhance the quality of life. If the parents came home a little less tense from fighting the traffic, they might get along better with their mates and with their children. For too long, the Monte Vista section of our city has been dormant. I believe this section of the city possesses unique characteristics which can and should be preserved. However, at present, the incentive is not there for accelerated, consistent, concentrated quality development. I believe it is time we sit down with the concerned citizens of that area, as well as the business and development community, to seriously consider a redevelopment zone for Monte Vista, and I will propose such an action to the council. Finally, I must address our corporate residents of the city. For too long, with few exceptions, they have been an unseen factor in our city. They provide employment and contribute to our tax base, but their involvement and participation in the life of the city is minimal. Therefore, I am moving forward to establish a mayor's corporate task force, wherein representatives of the major corporations in Cupertino will be invited to participate in frank discussion of our mutual concerns. Through this ongoing medium, I believe we can retain the firms we have here and strengthen their interaction in our city. We have much to offer, and more is on the horizon. Businesses and residents will not have to leave Cupertino if we take an active leadership role. Cupertino is a unique community. Not many cities our size can boast of the special blend of people, geography, and technology that exists within our limits. We have reached this position of preeminence through the hard work of our residents and businesses, and just as importantly, through the tremendous efforts and skills of our previous councils and our dedicated city staff. And I might just make an aside that I have the highest respect, and I think Cupertino can be proud of its city manager, Mr. Quinlan, who not only does a good job here, but he's respected not only throughout California, but throughout the United States for his skills. We are a leader, and we should be proud of it. We should not be content to be, citing a phrase from history, a tugboat in the wake of a man of war. San Jose may have its Horizon 2000. I say our horizon is beyond that. I am proud of this city, and you also should be. I believe we have a great future ahead of us. We cannot stop the world, but we must move with it and help to shape it. You have at your tables a copy of a report regarding the future of the county. Take it with you, read it, and discuss it. I believe you will find it most challenging. I do not agree with all it contains, but I do believe it will form the basis for fruitful study and discussion. This is 1984, but we need not fear the future. Let's take what's considered the age of Big Brother and turn it into the age of brother and sister. Through a mutual respect for one another, we can work hand in hand to make this a better community. I believe we must look to the future with the optimistic eyes of the young child. We can have our hopes and dreams realized. I can think of no better way to express it than in the words of the late Robert Kennedy. Some men dream dreams and say why. I say, why not? Thank you very much.